Welcome to The Real Life Buyer. In this podcast, you will discover interviews with procurement and technical experts, business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. These experts will help you to develop and grow, accelerate your career, improve your business, save money, and buy smart. Now introducing The Real Life Buyer, Dave Barr.
Hello and welcome to The Real Life Buyer. Miracle Properties Limited was founded in January 2019 by the couple Nana and Emilie Piesie. I probably pronounced that very badly, but there we go. I've done my best. And is a company that invests in UK real estate. Now, their journey began in August 2018 when they decided that real estate investment was a direction they wished to pursue. They prepared themselves for doing research and studied relevant courses about UK law, which I guess wasn't much fun, regulations and various investment strategies. And they continued to obviously make sure they're up to date with latest changes. And they also receive advice and knowledge from their network of real estate investors and mentors. The twist here, though, is that these directors of this company are based in Sweden, not in the UK. So today, I'm delighted to welcome Nana onto the podcast to learn about their journey and discover and share their knowledge, tips, and techniques about real estate investment from afar. So hello, Nana, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, David. Thank you very much for having me. And what an intro you did there. That was really nice. I couldn't even done it better.
You can always copy it. My royalties are quite low.
No, but this is fun, and I'm honored that I could be here and discuss about this. I like talking about it because I'm like this, that if you put your mind to it, you can always do it. You know, you shouldn't have barriers. Yes, obviously, it's more difficult from doing it from Sweden than being in the UK, but it's possible, especially in this day and age that we're living in.
Yeah, well, that's great. And so this is really interesting to me because you obviously, there are a lot of people who like to invest in real estate, but you tend to think of those people investing when they're at least within the country or the area. So they know, the properties, the good places, the bad places. But investing your own money from a long way away is quite a change, a bit of a difference. And that's why I thought this would be really interesting to see how on earth you go about that. So could you start by sort of telling the listeners about yourselves? Obviously, I know Emily isn't here today, but why did you decide to invest in property and renting, particularly in a different country?
Yeah. So about ourselves. So me and Emily, we have two daughters. One is 9 months. She actually started to walk this week. So it's very nice to be seeing that. Yeah. And the eldest is soon 4. So I work at Volvo company, the car company. Emily does the same. She's an accountant by trade. Her mom is have an accounting firm as well. So I'm very blessed with having accountants close by, so they can give me tips and try to be tax efficient. Beside that, So when we got the information that we were going to be parent, me and Emily, we were in the US, and I started to wandering around there, hiking in the hills, in the Hollywood Hills. And I was thinking, I need to do something because I don't want to be in my job till I'm 65. And I remember my dad, he turned 63 before he passed away. So it's not guaranteed. So I need to find something that I want, and I'm going to be a parent. Now it's time to grow up.
Really?
So it's not about me, myself, and etc. And the people that I met during that vacation then in the US, they all had real estate. Even if they were not heavy into real estate, they had a piece of real estate in their portfolio. So when I came back, I started to learn more about it, read books, podcasts, YouTube, etc. And then I got this Facebook ads where it was this Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, having an event here in Gothenburg. And I was like, okay, I told my friend, let's go and hear it out. We were there 3 hours and I got sold. I was like, I'm doing this. I called Emily and told her that, okay, we're doing this now. I bought the course three days, 2 days education in Stockholm. And she was like, but Celine, how? Because that time we have got Celine, she was like 4 months.
Okay.
How are we gonna do? I'm like, no worries. We give her to my best lady friend. She can take care of her. And then in between breaks, you feed her, you breastfeed her, and then we go back. We're doing this. So
no choice in the matter, eh?
Yeah, no choice. And she was like, okay, if you believe in it, I believe in it. Let's do it and try. Give it a try. And yeah, and since then, we've just gone straight ahead, all in. And obviously, what the course told us, it's not like that. It's not as easy as they said.
Sure, of course, yeah.
But it's doable.
Yeah. Okay. So it's really, I kind of understand that. And you can easily get whipped up by the excitement, the show that's been put on by somebody like a big name like Robert Kiyosaki. Clearly, this guy knows his stuff. But you're in Sweden, and I would expect you to go and think of Sweden to buy properties. So why would you think, okay, I don't want to buy a property that's on my doorstep. I want to go to the UK when you've got France, Spain, Germany, Italy. It's a bit of a strange one for me. So why that choice?
Yeah. So that choice, why we didn't do it in Sweden. So Emily wanted to do it in Sweden. I think it was a year back or something, but I said no, to be honest. And then afterwards, when we were considering doing the UK, we talked with several people that are doing it in Sweden and asking how they did it. And they said that, okay, if you did it maybe before the 2008 crash, it was the finance was easier and banks were more willing to lend. But now it's much stricter. Plus the regulation here in Sweden with tenants and etc., it's on the tenant side. So as a landlord, it's very, like, let's say if you want to raise the rent, there's a cap. While in the UK, you can raise it to how much you want and the market decide. Right. So that's also an issue. Plus, when I went to this event in Gothenburg here before I bought it, the things that you could do in the UK was mind blowing. You could do. I don't want to go too deep with the strategies, but example like a lease option. That's when you lease the property from the owner and then pay them in some years. This stuff you cannot do it in Sweden because it will be classed as illegal. You can't do like something like rent to rent, where you let's say you, David, is the landlord. I come to you and say, I'll give you a guarantee rent for 3 years, and then I sublet it to new tenant or a new tenant and take the difference. Those stuff you cannot do in Sweden. So it's the market in UK is more mature.
Yeah.
Plus the distance from Sweden to UK, it's like 1 hour, 2 hours flight. So it's not so difficult if something would happen and we need to go there. So that was like the main point.
Yeah.
Finance, better, everything like this that I mentioned before as well.
Okay. So I guess places like France, Brits tend to go and move to France and Spain for whatever reason. Was the language barrier, perhaps you're obviously very fluent in English. Is that the reason why you came to the UK as well, as opposed to them?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we're good in English, Swedish people, but we're not so good as you guys, obviously, because that's your native language. But learn a Spanish language plus solicitor language in Spanish all of this, even my friends that are from some of them from Uruguay and Chile, they say, and they live in Spain, and they say, oh, I don't even understand, when they bought a property. So it's much easier to do it in the UK. Plus the person can explain then, let's say, I don't understand this old English maybe.
Yeah.
So that's also a thing that you mentioned, the language barrier.
Right. Okay. That's quite clear now. Okay, so let's get on to the nitty gritty then. And you've now decided to invest in the good old UK, but you've got to ask a series of questions clearly before deciding on a property. So what kind of process, checklist or evaluation do you do when you're trying to determine what kind of properties may be appropriate for you?
Yeah. So as you all the listeners are aware, and as I mentioned, I'm not from the UK from the beginning. So I needed to first of all understand what infrastructure, what are you building in the UK? What are the hotspots? So I looked at things like this HS2.
Yep.
I looked at it, okay, which cities will this train go past? Where will like the growth be? Where will people move to? Try to make very normal like person due diligence. Like,
Yep.
okay, I know that, example, we have a property in Leeds. So I know in Leeds, that's one of the three financial sector in the UK. So it's Leeds, Glasgow, and London. So obviously there will always come finance jobs there and insurance and et cetera, et cetera. So I know that the demand will always be, even if it moves, the demand will be there, the fundamentals. And then if we go into like very deep, like let's say in the city that we're choosing to invest in, then I'm looking at, okay, is there a supermarket close? Is there a train station or a bus station close? Is there close to schools? What is the crime rate? Then after all of this like desktop analyzing, I call the letting agent, like at least 3, and ask them, okay, what are the people saying? Let's say if it's a new town that I'm into, I ask them, where is the demand in this city? Which streets do people want to live in? When someone come into you and ask, do you have property here and there? And then if they're genuine, they help, they say, and then I just verified it with the computer on the desktop. And then, sometimes I even go, so if I don't know people in the city, I even go on a Facebook group like what are happening in Leeds, or you know what I mean, and ask, oh, is this a good area? I was considering moving to Leeds. Which area shouldn't I be in, etc. And then get this verification from the community there. And then I put plus, and then that equals the result.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. So obviously you're using a lot, as you say, social media, websites, rental companies on the ground. Did you say to these rental companies that you're a prospective tenant? Did you give them that impression, or do you say you're looking to sublet or something like that?
Yeah, I give them that I'm either that I'm a potential tenant.
Yeah.
Or I say like I'm a potential landlord and I'm looking to buy there, and I'll use your services if I'll buy.
Yeah. And I would guess, just to be clear, that before you actually go down the road of handing money over, do you jump on a plane, or when we could just jump on a plane and fly, would you go and verify it by putting your feet on the ground and actually walking the areas as well?
No, I don't.
No, never. Blimey.
No. So we bought the first property we bought it on auction. And it was first when we put it back on the market that I went over and just saw the property. But the property in Leeds, the other one in Newcastle, we haven't been there. So, but we're still.
That's extremely brave. Yeah. I think even before I went and bought a property, no matter for what I was going to use it for, but you tend to go back a few times, and evaluate and measure up and see the conditions and all that. So, wow, that's really is a brave decision.
It was hard for Emily, but for me, I was like, it's fine. We have people that go there and they're verified it. The solicitor have said we will go to land register. It says our company. It's ours. It's okay.
I could do a dose of your optimism, I think. I'm a bit more cautious. I'm on the Emily side of the scale, I think. Yeah. Hey, I'm a bit more cautious than that, but here we go. you mentioned finance a bit earlier on, and I'm quite interested to know, how does somebody in Sweden get the necessary finance to consider buying a property in another country? So what kind of steps did you have to take? Do you have to deal with UK banks, Swedish banks? How did you go about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's another thing, like I mentioned, why UK is better with the finance. So in UK, you have like special lenders that are into property. So they totally understand the business. They just go on the numbers. And if it's a good deal, it's a good deal. They take the deal. So while in Sweden here, you need to go to the banks, the high street banks, and then convince them that this is a good property. You have to show them the business plan, etc., how you're gonna pay it off. While in UK, you can have like interest only loan, and you don't need to pay it off, and etc. So that's what I mean. That's UK. It's more mature, and Sweden it's not. When it came to starting a UK bank company and bank account, we got actually help from the course. But now afterwards, as we have done another company, we have done it ourselves. So you just look at different banks that take non-UK resident as their customers. And then obviously you have these checks that you need to show passport, proof of address, and you need to have it stamped because you guys in the UK love this stamp. While here in Sweden, we're like very far with the technology. So we use an app called Bank ID. So you just go, you just put in your details there, and then the receiver get that you are verified that you are Nana Piesie, and then it's fine. But yeah, hopefully it will come to UK. So so that's how you open a bank account, and then you just go.
Right. Okay. So just going to get some context around this. The kind of properties you're looking to seek, they tend to be for single people, for families, and therefore what kind of value of property are we talking about? What kind of loan criteria are we talking about?
Yeah. So we have single families, and then we on the rent to rent, we have these HMOs. So that's like, I don't know if your listeners are aware of the HMO. So it's people that are living together, 3 or more people in a household, and they have like separate rooms, but they share kitchen and bathroom. It's quite popular to people that have left the uni or in uni.
Yeah.
When it comes to getting loan, it's usually, as we are foreigners, we can get up to 75% loan to value. So we need to find or have 25% deposit to put it in. And the rates that we go, and in the beginning, like the first 1 to 2 years, it's quite high. We get around between 5 to 7%. But after they have seen that you're serious and you're not no scam, the rate go down to around 4%, maybe if you're lucky, 3%. While you people that are from the UK can get rate from 2 to 3%. So obviously it's better cash flow for you guys. But that's something, it's either that or, like I mentioned, you go to Sweden and try to fight with the banks and convince them.
So I'm just getting an idea of the size of the property here. So you're talking about sort of single parent families. So that could be 2 or 3 bedroom properties, I guess. But then when you're talking the HMO, one assumes that's could be a fairly large property that's been converted to house, let's say, 4 properties within it. Would that be a right way of thinking about it?
No. So like the one we have the 9 beds.
9
HMO.
bedrooms. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's 9 bedrooms, and it's all en suite. So all of them have their like
bathrooms and kitchen and such. Yeah.
Not they share the kitchen, but the bathroom they have them themselves. So that, I think that was a former 6 bed. So it's former 6 bed. So it's a quite big house. Yeah. It's 3 floors, 3 stores. stories.
Okay, so that's and you've got a number of properties, obviously. So it's still a fair amount with a 25% deposit. That's quite a lot of money to find. So
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the risks here. We've got risks of the tenants, as an example, where they could default on their payments and they could decide to squat, as we call it in the UK, decide not to leave the property. How do you overcome that kind of risk, or is that something you've just got to live with?
Yeah. So there's a risk. You can safeguard it how much you want, but there's always a risk. So what we do is when we put in tenants, we tell the letting agent or the person that we're working with that they need to tell the tenant to sign a guarantor. So usually it should be maybe the parent or something. Then the guarantor knows if they default, they will need to pay. And obviously, majority of people don't want to default. So that's a one way of doing it. Obviously, it can still happen that the default and you need to go to court and etc. At the moment, that haven't happened, but that's how we try to mitigate our risk while doing. And I see some people that don't even do it to have a guarantor, and then it happens, and then they're in the
problems. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the one side, is obviously the people and the building itself. So as you said, you've not actually physically seen some of these properties. You're reliant on others. So let's say you buy a property, but it needs some renovation works. I don't know if you've had to experience that, or do you go for a fairly pristine property? Which the two? Do you go for renovation a little bit more, or do you make sure it's a renovation? Okay. So that means you've got to employ contractors.
Yeah.
How do you make sure you deal with, or the people that represent you at least, deal with contractors that are not some kind of fly-by-night outfit, that they do what they say they're going to do and they keep within the budgets you've agreed?
Yeah. So like my mentor said, trust but verify. So we live by that motto. So what we do, let's say, I usually try to reach out in the community that I'm in and ask, okay, which builder is good or building team is good, and then have like a conversation with them. And then I have someone that's outside that have no relationship to the builder or to me, or sometimes if they have a relationship to me, then they just go and verify what the building team is doing, and we just pay them after they have done their job. So if they haven't done the job that they're saying in stages, because we have like a schedule of works.
Yeah.
And if they haven't done it correctly, then we say, okay, you won't get paid before you have done this. So that's how we mitigate it.
Yeah. Okay. Because there's always at the end of some works, you'll arrange for somebody to go in that you trust, that will look at what we would call a snagging list. So what things aren't quite right, that they make sure they put in the right condition before you hand over your money. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. It's still quite scary for me that you're doing all this remotely. So there we go.
It's a lot of, I agree with you, David. It's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
You need to trust people. It's true. You need to, but if you don't trust people, then it's very hard. You need to do it yourself. Well, but I try to believe that people in general is good people.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think the key thing here is that you also have a process. You have some good due diligence, and that's the thing that people have to remember. You are taking risks, but you're trying to mitigate those as much as possible by doing some very sensible things and dealing with reputable companies and people.
Yes, exactly.
So you may pay a little bit more for that, but the peace of mind you get back is worth every penny.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
You said it so good, Dave.
I do my best. I try. I've been playing with purchasing for a long time, so I can talk a lot of waffle. Okay. So out of all this hard work, effort, and nervousness, I'm nervous. Let's say, what kind of return are you expecting on your investments, and in what kind of time period would you think that's a good prospect, a good result?
So the minimum criteria me and Emily have put in is a return on investment of around 14%. Sometimes it's differ, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, because like I mentioned, let's say if you're in a good street or area and the return on investment maybe is 9%, but the capital growth that it will grow a lot in the coming years will exceed that, then we go in, because you can never. I know some investors or property investors, they calculate the capital growth in their spreadsheets, but we don't do it because that's something that we cannot decide. We don't know how. I mean, like last year, 15% growth in the UK at the property market. Who knew that?
Yeah.
So how can you factor in that in your spreadsheets? So we just go on the rent, how long it will take to get our money back by doing it by the rent, like the rental income minus all of the expenses that we have. And if it's around 10%, 14%, we go ahead. And if it's less, we keep tight or negotiate harder.
Indeed. And you touched on something there, which is what I was going to move on to, is the property market. And that can be quite what we would call fickle. It's is affected so heavily by outside factors. And as you rightly say, who would have, in the time of COVID, expected there to be a huge growth? It's quite crazy, really, in some ways.
Yeah.
So do you have any insights? You mentioned mentors and other people that you deal with. Do you have any kind of feelings of how the market may develop in the next few years?
So the property investor community, we have this chart that we follow calls the 18 years property cycle. Right. So it means that from start to bust. So from here to there, it's 18 between. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. And they are saying that we are now in the beginning of the growth phase. So we're going here, and during the growth phase, it should be like between 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, it can differ. So people are considering that the crash will come around 2026, 2025, 2027, around there. And then we'll then go again to the growth phase.
Okay.
So that's what people are saying. But what I'm saying is that as long as you know that you have a good deal and you don't over leverage, because that's what people did in the 2008, even if I wasn't doing it, but it was just madness when you see some of the films like Big Short, people were taking 100% or 105% loan to value. And then, the market will still go up. Yeah, we won't. Our goal is to the whole portfolio to maybe go down to 60%. And even if it crash, the lenders won't come and call in the loan.
Yeah. And you've obviously been smart in the way you're thinking about these locations. You mentioned HS2 as an example, and as long as that does get built in the way they're saying it, who knows? The jury's still out, perhaps. In theory, they're in areas that are going still to grow because of the investment in the infrastructure that is within that place. So the wealth in the area should, in itself, prop things up, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got, I think was it 4 properties you have at the moment? Is that right?
So let me. No, 5.
5 now. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your ambitions then for the next 10 years?
My ambition is to start doing like building skyscrapes. That's my when I was a kid, I always wanted to I love skyscrapes. So
Right.
when I went to New York when I was young, in my early 20s, I'm like, so I want to build one of those. And then
you got Donald Trump here, have we?
No, I don't want to be that big. For me, to be honest, the most important thing is that I can choose my time, that me and Emily can choose. If we want to just take the day off and etc., as long as we're stuck at Volvo or in our JOB, you always need to ask permission and etc. So yeah, that's my
cool.
main goal. That's my main goal.
Yeah.
Then obviously, if I can build skyscrapers, why
not? Indeed. So, you're obviously going to look at the sort of a gradual growth in your portfolio, perhaps 1 or 2 properties a year, bearing in mind, obviously, your family implications. So it's to buy a life as opposed to just earn money, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, one of the things I noticed on your website is that you welcome external investment. So what are you able to offer to such investors, and why should they invest their money with you over perhaps other opportunities?
Yeah. So let me start with the first question. So why they should invest with us is because, let's say, if people want to have a alternative for the stocks or whatever investment they're doing, maybe crypto, I don't know.
Yeah.
And people know, like my dad said, things that won't go away in our life is shelter and food. And those 2 things went up the roof during the pandemic. And it will always be like that. So, and I think people understand real estate. It's an easy business to understand, and just tell them, I'm buying this. This is physical. Here it is. If you want, you can go and check it out. While with a stock market, it's just stocks, and Elon Musk can tweet something and then it just go down.
Absolutely.
Or go up. While with property, it's more like it's not so volatile. Yeah. Like other investments. So that's only like my pitch, if you say so. And if they want me and Emily as a couple, we're genuine, we're honest, and we try to match the normal stock market when it's around 6 to 8% annually. And basically you have the security of that the money is in a property.
Yeah. And what would you say would be a typical investment of other people with yourselves? How much were you talking about here?
So the biggest investor we have put in around 200,000 K.
Is that in GBP?
Yeah.
English
exactly.
pounds. Yeah,
in pounds. Yeah, English pounds. Sorry. Yeah. So that's what, and this person is setting off because of the pension. She's a pensioner now, and don't want to have the money in stocks or in a saving, because she's aware of that inflation is eating up your money. And I mean, like in the UK, the inflation is almost 6%. So that's buying power is very low. And in Sweden, it's 4 point something. So just to have a hedge against it, that's why she invested. And I think when people understand that inflation and etc., then they start, okay, I can't have my money in the saving account like before. Maybe for 20, 30 years, you got an interest rate of maybe 3 or 4%, but those times are over. So that's why I think people are seeking to more alternative investments.
Yeah. So just let's make the maths easy. Let's say I was going to walk into you and say, here's 100,000 I'm interested in investing. When you receive that money, what do I get? What guarantees do I get? And how do you go about paying me the returns on that investment?
Yeah. So let's say if you come, like you mentioned, 100,000, I could tell you, okay, what will make you feel secure? And then if you tell me, I would like to have a charge on the property. So then we will put a charge on land register where it says like, David Barr has a charge on this, has first charge on this property. So if anything happens, they will need to contact you. Or maybe you say, okay, I would like to have a charge on the company. Then we put that in the contract. So then you have a charge on the company. And then it all depends how we want to structure it. That, okay, till I get paid. Let's say if you default till I get paid, I will get all of the rental income, or you need to sell the house, or it's always negotiable, because we're like, there's nothing black or white, because it depends what the investor want, and then it depends if we can meet the demand that the investor makes. And when it comes to payouts, we usually do it annually. So after a year, we pay the tax for you already, so you don't need to think about that. And then you just get it in your bank account. And then if the tax officer come and ask, where do you have this paper, you just show them the control number that we have paid the tax for you.
Okay. That's good to know. So I expect there's a lot of people interested in about this. You probably sparked a lot of interest. So before I go into my final question, how do people find out more about yourself? They discover about what you do, your work, and how you progress as well going forwards.
So I think the easiest thing will be like follow our website or social media, because we put up a lot of stuff there, like the progress of the projects that we're doing. And we have this Calendly link where they can just book in a meeting, quick 30 minutes, just to get to know each other and see if we can either help you do it yourself or maybe invest with us. We're always happy to help people. And that's what I think.
Yeah, so just make sure it's clear to people now. You have a website, and if I understand that right, it's called Miracle Properties Limited, spelled Ltd.com. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep. So that's the main website, but you're also present on quite a few social media channels. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, I think are all places that you regularly post. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So if you just go to the website, you'll find all of the links that you mentioned, and you just decide which one.
Yeah, which is your favorite.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So as I said, I think we've probably sparked a lot of interest in this, particularly those people who are nervous about investing in property and they are within the country. To hear that you're doing this from outside the country, I think could encourage lots of people to dip their toe in the water, shall we say. So for kind of wannabe budding property investors, what would be your top tips before starting out on this interesting adventure? And what kind of things would you suggest they should be doing, let's say, for the first year or two?
So the first year, I would have got so much knowledge. And if you have the ability to pay for a mentor or something, do it. But please check who the mentor is, because it's so many scammers. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say this industry is rosy, because it isn't. It's a lot of scammers who's taking advantage of people's hard-earned money. So you need to do your due diligence on the people, and stuff like, can I see your portfolio? Can I visit it? And if they like say no and etc., that's a red flag. Because I mean, if you're doing it, you shouldn't have any problems people like showing it. And this is something that we did when we were in the UK. We went on a course, and Emily asked very Swedish, like, yeah, and how do we know that you're doing what you're doing? And he didn't get offended, the guy. He was like, oh, that's a valid question. Okay. Yeah. He took up his phone and showed him the properties that he had, the conversation from solicitors, etc. And then he even went so far and showed his bank account for all of the rent that was coming in and back. And was like, is this good enough? Or do you want to go on a site visit as well? We can go on a site visit. And, then she felt dumb. She just got red in her face, and people started to laugh, and she was like, I had to ask. And he said, yeah. You should always ask, because I'm teaching you something and you want to know if I'm doing what I'm teaching. And obviously, so that's my, if you don't have the funds to get a mentor, at least read books, podcasts, because there's so much free information out there in this day and age. And that's how we did. We read a book. Even even if we went to mentors, we still read books and went on courses. So do that. And then you need to decide which area you want to go. Do you want to be in the area that you live in? Or do you want to, like us, do it distance? The more north you go, obviously, the more cheaper it is. And decide and make a plan. And what do you really want? Why do you want to jump into property? Because it can be lonely sometimes. And you need to have a great mindset because it ain't fast, first of all. And it's a lot of hiccups before you get the reward. But you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, some good points there. I think exactly how Emily put it, that if anybody is a genuine person, they're doing the things they say they do, they should not feel threatened in any way, shape or form by asking sensible questions. In fact, if you didn't, they probably think you were crazy. So, she might have been embarrassed, but at least she's embarrassed with the money in her pocket.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Out of curiosity, is there a particular lesson you'd say from experience of what not to do, or have you been lucky?
Oh, there's a lot of experience, but I can choose one experience that, like we like I mentioned, we did the course, we read books and etc. But yet we stumbled up on this one. We bought our property, our first property that we bought. It was on the auction, like I mentioned, and it was already done. It was done up already, so it was just back on the market. But we wasn't aware that in the UK, the banks have like an unwritten law after the 2008 crash that you need to be on the register on the property for 6 months before you transfer it to someone else.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So we got an offer accepted after 2 months. We were happy. Yeah, this went quick turnaround. 3 months, and then we've already profited, etc. And we went through the solicitor, all of this, and then they just pulled out. And we're like, why did it pull out? They didn't say. But then, obviously, a friend of us that's in the UK told us we have this 6 months rule. Not all the banks have it, but majority of the banks use it. So what happened? We got down and we were, oh no, we won't sell the house. We were lucky 2 weeks after another person came. And then, we sold the house exactly 6 months from where we bought it. So that was a lesson that we learned. And it could have been a very expensive lesson if we took like this bridging finance, because then you're paying every month. Now we bought it with cash from my investor, but that's something that could have been very expensive for us. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a great lesson, and thanks for sharing that. Well, I found this absolutely fascinating. Thanks very much for that. I could talk to you all day on this, but we can't. So all I can say is have a great day. It's lovely and sunny here in the UK. Hopefully you've got the same in Sweden. No?
Rainy.
Oh, well. Never mind. I'm all right. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for a great podcast, Nana. And hopefully I'll look forward to speaking to you again sometime.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was very nice and I'm very delightful. I hope the listeners got anything out of it.
I'm sure they did, mate. You take care.
Take care. Bye.
So there's another Real Life Buyer podcast. I do hope you enjoyed it, and it's given you some ideas and inspiration for greater action and achievement. If you are a purchasing or a supply chain professional, business owner or director, come and join my Facebook group, the Purchasing and Supply Chain Community Hub, a safe place to engage with like-minded, friendly people. See you soon. Bye.